It is a rather emotional Wednesday, my dudes, for you see, we are on episode 19 of 20 of Adventure Woods, the theme park building series in which I build a theme park in the theme park building video game Planet Coaster, and that theme park in question is called Adventure Woods. And yes, in this episode, the park shall be complete. The construction shall be no more. Episode 20 will be me riding the rides of the park, doing a little tour with my girlfriend Beth, who's probably proof watching this with me right now on the sofa. Hello, Beth. Beth is deathly afraid of roller coasters. In fact, it was funny. I bought a VR. Already the rambling begins, right? But whatever. It's the penultimate episode. I'm about to lose my soapbox, in which I can just talk about nothing for hours on end to at least 4 people. Yeah, I bought a VR headset last year. This all stemmed from the fact that I broke my hand in early-ish 2021, so I was suddenly not able to play video games, like things. I tried playing console KSP, and we all know how badly that went, and so I thought, it just sucks. I can't do it. I can't do any exercise or any outdoor activities, because that requires the use of my right hand. But I can't really play video games either, and a lot of my other hobbies, like drawing and cooking, again, are very difficult because my hand is immobilized. But I thought, you know what, I've always wanted to try Beat Saber out, because that looks really fun, and you don't need to use your fingers for that, and I could still hold things in my hand because my thumb was free, it was just my other 4 fingers that were immobilized. So I decided to buy a VR headset, and I got really into Beat Saber. Oh my gosh, Beat Saber is I was going to say, Beat Saber is like the best VR game. I would say that my VR headset, I refer to it as the Beat Saber machine. I know there are really good games as well, like a Pistol Whip's really good, Half-Life Alyx obviously is very, very good, and there's loads of others as well that are amazing. But, I don't know, Beat Saber is just so cool, isn't it? And if you played the game, you know. Anyway, whilst I was experimenting with loads of VR stuff, I decided to put YouTube on and put a 360 VR roller coaster video on the VR headset, and I sat and watched. I was like, this is kind of cool. And I was like, hey Beth, you're terrified of roller coasters, right? But you've never actually ridden anything bigger than a little carnival ride. I know. By the way, guys, I've kind of mentioned this a few times that she's scared of roller coasters, but she's never been on a proper one. Only little tiny diddly temporary carnival roller coasters. So I'm like, I wonder how you cope with Millennium Force in VR. So I sat her in a chair in the middle of the room and she put the VR headset on. And I did video it on my phone, to be fair. And it was really, really funny. But I don't know if I'm going to be allowed to show you that video. But just rest assured, it was very funny. So there is that. But yes, today is a rather sad day, my dudes, because it's the penultimate episode. So what am I doing in this episode? Well, I've already done one of the big projects, which I teased last episode, in which we built that bus station currently in view. And that is I reconfigured the monorail layout. The monorail layout was good initially, and then I decided to expand the car park to be bigger to support the now bigger ambition for Adventure Woods as a whole. And ever since I did that, I was just trying to constantly retrofit the layout of the monorail to kind of enable that car park layout. So initially I had the monorail go around the new big car park, which looked really, really weird. It looked like it had very obviously been retro relayed to be like that. So then I tried laying the tracks over the actual tarmac of the car park itself, and that looked okay, but it was still very clearly wasn't designed very well. So in the end I bit the bullet, deleted everything aside from the monorail station effectively, and then I just rerouted the monorail to go off site somewhere else. For those that don't know for some reason, because you might have missed a couple of episodes, that oh, excuse me, I just choked on nothing. That monorail, it doesn't serve any purpose other than to serve as a means of getting guests to and from the park in a believable way. Because if you were to build a realistically sized car park in Planet Coaster, literally the parking lot would be 3 times the size of the area of the theme park itself. At minimum, it would be double the size. Which, to be fair, would be possible with Adventure Woods, because it's a fairly small park size relative to the overall size of the map. But I just don't like building car parks. And also, it's pretty ugly, right? Surface car parks are not pretty things. So instead, and I've done this with Neptune Park and Velocity Lake and now this park, I don't think I did it with anywhere else. No, I don't think so. Yeah, I said, we're going to build a modestly sized car park and then a monorail that disappears off-site where there's going to be some magical hypothetical car park with cheap parking or free parking. You can park there, get the train in, you can save some money. I don't know. That's just the I kind of killed 2 birds with one stone that way, because one, I don't have to build quite as big as a car park as I would need to if I was trying to be realistic, and also it gives me a great spot to hide the guest spawner. When you open a theme park, as you'll find out in this episode, spoiler, guests will not just like appear at the ticket booths of the park. They'll appear from the guest spawn point, which by default in Planet Coaster is just in like this cliff, and they just emerge from a hole in the cliff. And if you go down into that cliff, there's a spawn point there. And in Scenario Editor, which is what I'm building Adventure Woods in, you can actually place that spawn point. It's very common practice for many Planet Coaster enthusiasts to build some sort of building where guests will spawn from. So some people build a hotel and put the spawner inside that building, or some guests will build like a big sort of bus station, or even like I saw one on Reddit that was like they literally built a big mock bus around the guest spawner point, just somewhere like this is clearly where guests are coming from. And in my case, I've always liked just building a monorail station and then have the guests come out of the monorail station, and meanwhile there is a monorail operating overhead that looks like it's ferrying passengers to and fro. The best way this could be improved on, and some of you might be asking this already in the comments, I don't know, is why don't you have two stations of the monorail, right? One monorail station in the actual entrance to the theme park, and one monorail station off screen, like buried in some hill somewhere, and then the guest spawner is at that station, and guests then have to spawn in through the guest spawner, they board the monorail train and travel to the, and then they actually are disembarking a monorail train. But I tried that when I built my Christmas theme park, Mistletoe Peak, and it just didn't really work. Guests, they're not the brightest, they're not the sharpest tools in the shed. They don't always get off at the theme park station. They will just get off at a random station because that's the extent of the AI. And then they like will wander around, then they'll get back on the monorail. It just doesn't really work. And I think the park entrance, or guests won't ride a ride if it's outside the park entrance. So for Adventure Woods, the Adventure Woods entrance building, which is kind of to the right of the current frame that you're watching, that's where the actual entrance point is. And if there is a ride outside of that point, guests won't ride that ride. So you'd have to put the entrance to the park by the original guest spawner before the monorail station that they get onto, and they get really bad park rating, and it just doesn't really work. I did try a couple of configurations in Mistletoe Peak, and none of them really worked too well, so that's why I don't do that, in case any of you are wondering why I did not do that thing. Now we're building the other thing, one of the other things that I'm doing in this episode. The first thing was obviously the monorail reorganization of the track thing that was now long gone in the past. Now we're building the guest services building. A guest services building is one of those things you need to build if you want to build a realistic theme park. The guest services has a few things. So it has your Lost and Found. It has buggy renting, so stroller renting. I think stroller is the American term, isn't it? I know most of you are probably American by statistically, you're probably going to be American. So I think you guys call them strollers. Prams if you're in the UK, and hopefully everyone else in the world is assimilated enough into American culture to know what a stroller is. So that's where you rent those. Mobility scooters, Lost and Found. I guess the first aid room would probably be here, although in Planet Coaster, first aid is like its own building, so I've already got a first aid centre built somewhere else. So this is just the guest services point, and guest services is actually one of those buildings that a lot of players like to place their guest spawner in. So the guest services building, that's just where guests appear from, but not me. I've already explained my guest spawn point location strategy, so I'm not going to rehash that again. Kind of a garish colour, is it? It's kind of like an Amish barn. I will tone down. Hey, was that a pun? Because colour tone. I will tone down the colour of this building to be something a bit more easy on the eye. I think I'll go for like a neutral blue in the final iteration. But yeah, the actual layout of the building is all right. I don't really know how big guest service buildings should be. Like, will there be lots of offices there? Will there be like a big doctor's office? Will there be a big rental office or like a security? I don't know. So I just made it kind of oversized. Like I thought about how big I think it should be, and then I just made it slightly bigger than that. And I think, hopefully, it's a fairly realistic size now. And yeah, that's it there. I set it slightly back from the park, and now we're just going to try and integrate it, because this little plot of land, much like the land that the station for Storm Force, the water roller coaster ride station, now sits on, is kind of an awkward spot of land I didn't really know what to do with. So for this case, in between the toilet block to the kind of the middle right, oh, it's gone now, but the middle right of the frame of the bit of the video when I just them, and the steam train station. There's been a strip of grass that I've never really known how to fill. I tried to fill it in a couple of ways. I put a chair swing right there initially, but I didn't really like how it came out. And I tried a couple of other things, and in the end I said, let's just build a guest service building. So now I've built that, we're going to integrate it into the rest of the environment. And as you can see, one of the things I did was remove that garish red and went for a more subdued sort of aqua turquoise blue colour. And I set it back from the pathway a little bit, and we'll be integrating it into the environment by adding some fencing and shrubbery and making it all nice and continuous and seamless. Because I feel like, I've said this before in many episodes of this series, that like, for 99% of the build, for any Planet Coaster building, it looks terrible. It's only in that last 1%, that last 10 hours of a 50-hour project, the things actually start to come together and actually look somewhat decent. So in this case, we're still we're building the superstructure of the building, so it still looks a bit naff. As you can see, I gave up with the interior, by the way. I did those doors there, just there. Earlier on, I added like some wood paneling, thinking I could have added a full interior here. But I was just like, I can't be bothered. We're 19 episodes in, which represents about 300 hours. I don't know how many hours this took, actually. I'm actually now quite curious. Let's open Steam and see it, because, like, you know, change of pace. The penultimate episode, we're no longer opening Google Chrome on my second monitor whilst editing. We're opening Steam, and in this case, I'm now at 729 hours in Planet Coaster, and I feel like I was about 630 hours before starting Adventure Woods. Okay, fine, not as much time as I thought it was. It's about 100 hours of work to build Adventure Woods. There you go. If you want to build a park to the scale and scope of Adventure Woods and want to know how big of a time sink that'll be, it's that. It's about 100 hours, and I wouldn't have it any other way. It was 100 hours well spent. I do love playing this game. It's just really zen, and you can just listen to podcasts, and I've always liked creative games. You know, Kerbal Space Program, that's a creative game, right? It's like building space planes and spaceships and having fun there. And I've always loved Roller Coaster Tycoon, even though that's very similar to Planet Coaster. I've just always loved creative games. And so for me, it's like 100 hours of just like expressing my creative juices. I don't know. It's I've done 19 commentaries now. I've done 18 and a half commentaries now. So I'm like running out of things to say in terms of like the experience of playing Planet Coaster from a philosophical point of view. So yeah, this episode ended right when it needed to, I suppose. Although there is going to be one more episode 20, which is a shame, right? Because Velocity Lake ended very epically, because that had 69 episodes, which, guys, I don't know if you guys know, but 69 is the sex number. But don't tell Mum. Oh, actually, no, I think there were 70 episodes, actually, in Velocity Lake. I'm now going to actually open Google Chrome. Oh, I thought I could subvert that classic little thing. But it turns out I talk myself into corners and then put these things... Yeah, it was 70 episodes, but it was 69 episodes of building. So I think that counts for something. Here now I am adding stuff to the... backstage area, it would seem. I was just like frantically panning across the park saying, is there anything else I need to do before calling this project complete? And I was like, I could probably clutter up the backstage area a little bit more. So that's what I'm doing right now. I think a little water tower, because Disney's water tower is pretty iconic, right? The Mickey Mouse water tower, pretty iconic, I think. Don't know. And and what else? Some sort of spare cars for the backstage. Not backstage. It's the backstage tour ride, but for this park's reality, it's the bus that takes guests from the main car park to the hotel. Some spare carriage there. Kind of a shame that they've been crushed, like they would be if they were used as a set piece for a backstage tour ride, which is what their obvious use is supposed to be. But you know, I work with the cards I'm dealt here. I don't use any TMTK. I haven't used it because the series is over. Look at that, for a final shot of Adventure Woods from the bird's eye view. So what better way to end this little bit just here with a POV of the very first ride I built in the very first episode of this series. And you can see how the landscape has changed. I'll be quiet now. But yeah, it's what do you guys think of the views you got from that roller coaster just there? Did you see like the other coasters and like, you know, have any memories that you wanted to share? Like, which has been your favorite roller coaster? I'm genuinely really curious to hear what everyone's favorite ride or roller coaster. You know, yeah. What was your favorite? I mean, for me, I've got a soft spot for Wildwoods, as I've said in many episodes now. But I do like Phantom Road as well, and I like Wicked Twister. So it's very hot. And I like the Dragon Ride. I like everything about this park, to be fair. I'm really, really happy with how it came out. I was worried about starting another Planet Coaster series because I didn't know how to top Velocity Lake. And now I look at Velocity Lake and think, wow, like, this park is much better. Like, I feel like I always have a negative memory of theme parks, but like that I've built. Like, I recently revisited Mirror Lake in my own time. Like, I wanted to see how it looked. Sorry, I was just getting quiet for the passage-by of that car there. I want to see how it held up. Like, now I've got my own experience, and I feel like it holds up better than my memories thought it would. Now you can see me, and there's some background audio, because I'm opening up all the rides in the park ahead of opening the park for guests. That's the focus of the second part of this video. They are opening Ascension, but like, this is like a good opportunity for like a speed walk around the park, so you guys can get a quick view of like how things are all laid out. Because I've probably mentioned in like episodes that I start the episode and immediately just focus on one area for the whole episode and then just don't zoom out, and so they find it hard to visualize the layout of the park and how all the rides that I've been building integrate with one another. So I'm now just showing a speed walk around the park with no real cuts or transitions, except where like I had to answer the door or something and had to walk in. I don't know. There's minimal cuts basically while I walk around the park right now, showing you all the entrances to the rides and opening all the rides and opening all the shops and stalls. There's the Dragon Rider ride. Now we can walk across this part, open up the little kiddie ride, which is called the... I don't remember. Well, it's been late. It's now 20 to 8 for me. I'm on my third Planet Coaster commentary of 3 after a day of not only editing all of those 3 Planet Coaster episodes, but also doing lots of revision for my exam, which is in 6 days' time, and I'm getting a bit stressed, guys. So I've survived. I have survived this commentary, and that's really the important thing with this video. There's the little ring, the Helion ring. That was it, right? That was a big thing. That I was having a little. Honestly, for me, this is a trip down the park, opening things up. But for me, it's a trip down memory lane of the past 4 months of me, you know, both building the park and then recording the Planet Coaster episodes. I say 4 months because for me, it's still December 2022. You know, it's like you guys are like 2 months in the future for me, I think, ish. So yeah, it's well, who knows where I'll be in 2 months? Well, I know where I'll be in 2 months. I'll be cocooned in my room playing Kerbal Space Program 2. If I say it now, by the time this comes out, it'll become true because of the power of friendship. I consider me and Nate good friends. Right? I rescued him from Juna. Nate Simpson, creative director of Kerbal Space Program 2. So yeah, let's put our thoughts and prayers towards that. And here we're opening the Chaos Cube, and then we've got one more ride to open, which is the Vector ride. Go from testing to open. There we are. Every ride, every shop is now open, I think. If you guys think I've missed one, do let me know. Don't let me know, because I don't want to have to regret this episode. Now he's got to hire a few staff, you know, a few vendors that will quit during the days of building, some engineers or mechanics, and some janitors, some security, and then we can open the park for guests. And this was actually quite an emotional moment, guys. I've actually got a small little glass of whiskey prepared for this I'm going to have a little bit now. Oh, there we are. Nice celebratory whiskey. And yeah, I've been saving that because yeah, this is an emotional moment, guys. Like the end. I know there's like one more episode, but this is the end of the pre-recorded talking over footage of me building stuff episode. Like this I feel like in a blink of an eye, you know, the beginning and end of this series has happened, and like I've really enjoyed this. I've really enjoyed the ride, if you will, as a pun. I'm going to finish this video off with one more POV. I'm going to carry on talking because screw you guys, I've got things to say. Yeah, it's been fun, and I missed this. I built this park for me. I'm sorry, guys. I don't want to sound selfish now, but I did it. I built it for me. I didn't build it for YouTube, obviously, because these get like no views. And I've already said, you know, to hell and back why that's not a contention. I'm just saying they don't get many views. I built it for me, and I really enjoyed doing these commentaries, and I really liked everything about making this series. It's been really fun. I've always enjoyed making Planet Coaster videos, even if, like, you know, YouTube's recommendations and the general player base disagrees, I guess. But I've always enjoyed making them, and I really hope you enjoyed the journey that we've gone down together. And we've got one more episode to enjoy as a couple, me and you, the viewer, Dave. If you're called Dave now, that probably freaks you out. Sorry, introducing levity where it didn't need to be brought. I'm just saying, it's been fun. It's been fun. Thank you for watching, and I hope you enjoy the final episode.